For the past 2 to 1.5 years of Genshin Impact's lifetime, while exploring new regions like Natlan and Fontaine, and playing through gripping event stories like the iridescent Arataki Rocking for Life Tour de Force of Awesomeness, there's always been one thing that's been gnawing at the back of my mind, and many players likewise. When will we finally return to Mondstadt? No, really, when will we return to Mondstadt proper? The Archon quest for Mondstadt involving Venti and Storm Terror was part of Genshin's release more than 4 years ago. While the last real big story advancements were in things like version 1.2 with the introduction of Dragonspine and version 1.3 with the story of Shadows Amid Snowstorms and Albedo's clone and origin. Since then, nothing. While the other older regions like Liyue did get a huge boost with the addition of Tenyu Vale in version 4.4, Mondstadt seems to have taken a back seat, and me and many other players long for a return to form, which finally seems to be here with Genshin Impact version 5.6. Literally years since the last big advancements in Mondstadt's story. But why is it that I and many other veteran players feel so strongly about Mondstadt and long for a return? I think there's 3 main reasons as to why Mondstadt always feels like some kind of home for players. Firstly, it's nostalgia. Every Genshin player starts their journey in Mondstadt. It's where we learned how to play the game, farm materials, and met our first party members. Even now, when I return to Mondstadt for the occasional leyline farm or crystal fly hunt, I get swarmed with a sense of nostalgia to the game back at version 1.0. Every new region also feels farther and farther away from Mondstadt, so in my opinion, a return was due. Secondly, there's still so many mysteries and unanswered questions surrounding Mondstadt and its lore, from both event stories and especially pre-release content all the way back in 2020. The biggest question still up in the air is everything surrounding the Hexenzirkel and Durin, which just hammered home again during 2024's summer event. We still don't really know why they do everything they do, and it's been on our mind for years at this point. Another lingering question surrounds Diluc and Kaya, whose backstory was a huge part of Genshin Impact's manga. You can still read to this day. Honestly, the Genshin manga in general was a huge part as to why people latched on to characters like Jean, Amber, Diluc, and even Kale way before her release during the Sumeru period. These stories have been implanted into the minds of so many players, and it's kinda sad that other regions didn't get this treatment of extra lore. And the last reason, I think, is the multitude of summer events surrounding Mondstadt lore indirectly, specifically anything involving Alice and the other mages. Like all the Golden Apple Archipelago events and last year's Summertide Skills. All of these events kept the ideas Mondstadt planted in our minds, begging for more. Now, finally, Genshin Impact version 5.6 brings us back to where it all began, and promised to be a significant return to the region in the form of an interlude Archon quest, with key players of the region's lore like Albedo, Durin, and Alice playing a vital role. Even if it's a new version of the Windbloom Festival, it does set high expectations. So, was it worth the wait? Let's quickly dive into the story and find the answer. Spoilers ahead, of course. Interestingly enough, this questline tells its story a lot via so-called special story nodes, which place you in special versions of the world in order to not conflict with other quests. It's like the game's existing focused narrative experience, but even more strict, as outside of it you don't even see the city decorated in the Windbloom attire. The questline actually sets the scene straight away. Nothing is right with almost everyone in the city. It's like these past years away have changed people we've known since the start. As we're summoned to the Knights of Favonius and meet many old friends. We are quickly informed an important trial is about to happen and learn how it works. We also learn that none other than Captain Albedo is going to stand trial. This instantly got my attention, as a playable and friendly character we've known for years has suddenly done something so wrong that it needs all this preparation. Albedo is suspected of murder and getting rid of bodies. A very, very unexpected turn of events, at least if you've not watched any of the trailers. Now, this instantly already made me think back to the story of 2.3 with Albedo's clone. Surely this is, again, something involving that stuff. I actually really enjoy this part of the story, as it both instantly brings us back to that old mystery and Albedo's origin, while also increasing the stakes. Of course, after the court hearing we are summoned by none other than Lord Barbados himself, Venti. It's weirdly refreshing to see Venti back in his role as Archon, in his own silly special way of course. As we investigate further, we also get some hints about Rheindaught's past in Mondstadt, and find out Albedo was looking into the festering in Dragonspine and Durin's heart. Even heading back out there felt kinda nostalgic, as we haven't really had any reasons to return to Dragonspine at all since the old event stories. 5.6's story really brings you back to all those old memories. The trials in Mondstadt are a stark contrast to the ones in Fontaine we experienced a while ago. There's no drama and the courtroom is modest. It helps bring in the weird seriousness of the situation. To make things even weirder, Hertha, who has been acting as prosecution, has a clone of herself brought into the courtroom. Albedo elaborates on the lore surrounding Dragonspine and Durin. It is made clear that the spawn of Durin have infiltrated Mondstadt. The entire trial, however, was a setup for them, as now they were forced to reveal themselves. This was a fun twist, as it both expands on the lore of Durin and Dragonspine, and also finally has Albedo reveal some of his origin to his close friends. Now as monsters swarm Mondstadt, a great battle ensues and we run and hop from place to place assisting our year-long friends. This part was a brilliant way to reacquaint us with some of our older characters, and even see NPCs fight and be active. After the battle, the Tripartite Conference, a gathering between the Hexenzirkel, the Animal Archon, and the people of Mondstadt, is called in to solve this problem. This small expansion of Mondstadt lore further cements the connection with the mages, and helps link the previous more silly summer events. We end up finally reaching Alice, who ends up taking the form of a giant Dodoko. We also run into none other than Mini Durin in Albedo's office, the friend we made during the Summertide Skills event. He's in on Albedo's ultimate plan: replace the Durin on Dragonspine and be turned into a human. I kind of expected him to show up, as he was the main character during Summertide Skills. I just did not expect this to be the reason why, as it will shake up the setting a lot. Anyway, we enter the conference with Alice. We and Albedo are then shrunk down and placed onto a chessboard, where a giant boss battle commences. The boss battle against the chess pieces is actually quite fun, as it puts a large focus on your positioning and roster. Of course we beat them and go to Dragonspine with the mage's blessing. Albedo gets to work, and he goes into his motivations into doing all of this, and his views on Mini Durin. This short bit of characterization helped remind us who Albedo is even after all this time. At the usual Windbloom Star ceremony, Venti is given it for being the best support during the battle. As fireworks explode in the sky, Albedo performs his ritual, as we see our friends go about their night. As golden light beams throughout the city, Durin is finally reborn and we only get a glimpse of him. Albedo then talks to us and casually proceeds to reveal that Reintalter consumed the ruler of life. Do we know who that is, or how she did it? No, of course not, because the mages work in mysterious ways. We then get a special gift from the Hexenzirkel. It is of course a mystery, and it will reveal itself when the time is right, whatever that means. Genshin Impact's version 5.6's story is downright great. I love the way it wrapped up one of the biggest storylines in Mondstadt, and opened up a completely new storyline with Durin taking on human form, as we're gonna have to deal with that one way or another. It was also fun seeing the monsters attack the city, as it was a parallel to the main story back at release, but this time with all the new friends we made along the way. However, as good as the story of Genshin's most recent update is, and how it finally brings us back to the storyline, it does highlight, again, one of the biggest problems with Genshin Impact that has been plaguing it for years now: the limited time events. Simply put, new players will not know what is going on the same way veterans do. This Archon story relies heavily on two limited time events, one being literal years ago, which many newer players wouldn't have played, especially if their console or platform wasn't available at the time. While the game does allow you to read up on older events, it does not give the same experience. This has been a problem for Genshin for quite a while, as many vital character and story moments are locked behind lost, limited time events. It's even more weird knowing that Hoyo's other games like Honkai Star Rail and Zenless Zone Zero do allow you to replay older events. While I know storage and game size is an issue, I do feel like this dampens the experience for new players too much. Something like optional downloads for older quests could help the onboarding experience a lot. All of this, however, does not take away from the fact that Genshin Impact version 5.6's story is stellar for fans of Mondstadt and its characters.